Welcome to the milk bar. 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 Welcome to the milk bar.
Welcome along to episode 607 of the Milk Bar. Jason Forrest here with you as ever. And coming up on the show this week, Eddie Mooney of the Fortunes joins us. We'll be talking about how much they're missing being out on the road and the brand new single they have coming out this Wednesday. Plus, on the music front, we'll also be talking to Angus Crowne, and we'll be talking about the Family Jewels, his backing band, and their brand new single and album. Album's not out till March, single available now, talking more about that one. In addition to that, on the music front again, we'll be finding out about England Together. This is a project which has been headed up by Steve Heathcock. We'll be finding out about that from him and how they're raising funds for charity. Plus, we'll also be talking to Robin Shelby. She played Slimer in Ghostbusters 2, remained part of the family when she voiced Lady Slimer in the 2016 film, and has got loads more to tell us besides, so we'll be having a bit of a catch-up with her. We'll be joined by Jonny McClean from the Lichfield Garrick as they let us know about their theatre club, your chance to get involved in some brilliant online classes. And on top of that, LGBT plus Sparkle letting us know about their latest event as part of the LGBT History Month. That's coming up on the show this week. Never Too Far is the brand new single from The Fortunes. Eddie Mooney, their frontman, joins me now to tell me more. Hello, sir.
Hello, it's nice to talk to you, Jason.
Well, it's always good to catch up with you, and I know around now we should have been saying go along and see them at the Grand as part of the sensational 60s experience, but obviously that's on hold at the moment. Next time you can be at a theatre, well, fingers crossed it'll be the Grand where you are, but obviously it's been a difficult time, but some brand new music from The Fortunes.
Well, yes, obviously. I mean, it's nearly a year since we performed live. Our last gig was at the Liverpool Philharmonic, and that was last March. We should be on tour now, as you say, and we've got another tour coming up in the autumn. Fingers crossed we'll be okay for that. But, yeah, we're just waiting for things to improve. And obviously, so a lot of the people who come to our shows are older people, but, they have to be careful. But, yes, we try to keep music going. And the guitar player, Mick Smitham, and myself, we thought, well, we'll use this time productively, so we started writing some original material together as opposed to sort of revisiting the old stuff, and we came up with a number of songs, one of which is the new single.
Yeah, and it has the feel of The Fortunes, and obviously recorded at a different time, and obviously with the lineup changes that we've seen over the years, but sounding really, really part of the proper Fortunes history.
Well, that's the idea, and obviously The Fortunes has a particular sound, and whilst it's important to sort of keep it within that genre, we also felt that we needed to update it a little bit. And of course, recording it was not easy because I've not seen any of the other members of the band in person since last March. So what we had to do is we had to do it remotely by sending files. And fortunately for me, I have access to a studio, so I was able to put that together, and that's how we did it.
Well, I mean, it sounded absolutely fantastic. And when it comes down to producing new music like this, I know the fans are eager to hear the classics, but they must really appreciate something a little bit different with a modern day twist on, say, the whole Fortunes feel.
Well, we hope so. It comes out on all the digital platforms on this coming Wednesday. That's the 10th, and it should be available on sort of Amazon and iTunes and Apple and all these things. And it's not a physical single in the sense of a vinyl single as yet. We might look at that in a few months' time, but for the moment, it's going to be out there. And we're hoping to have a bit of a campaign next week because if we can get enough downloads, it would be fun to try and sneak it into the UK Top 100. And of course, we're also very connected with a setup called United DJs, and they have a national heritage chart. And we're fingers crossed we're bubbling under, as they used to say in the old DJ parlance. So we might even sneak in there tonight. We'll wait and see.
Well, it'll be interesting to see how it does work out. And when was the last time the Fortunes actually charted? So this could be an interesting story for the record books as well.
Well, it depends what you mean in the sense of obviously compilation albums have charted over the years, greatest hits things. But as a single, that's a very interesting one. I think it was the last one. It was 1987. and When Your Heart Speaks, and it was a record which charted in Holland.
Mm-hmm.
But the last UK top 40 hit, you have to go way back, and it's 1972, Storm in a Teacup. But obviously these days the charts it goes up to 100. I mean, in those days it was a top 40. And if you didn't make the top 40, that was that. But yes, the last hit was 87, and in the UK, 72.
So, there's a good opportunity to really impress the fans, and those who've been around for all those decades will no doubt be very pleased to hear this. And the great thing is so many people are tech savvy these days, they'll be ready for it. And as you say, a physical single release when it comes to being back touring could be a great way to add to the merch stall as well on the Sensational Sixties experience.
Obviously, when you tour, that you sell CDs. I mean, we did an album a couple of years ago called Past and Present, which was a live recording of our sort of full theatre show, and had all the hits and some lesser known songs as well. But something like this is a bit different because it if you like, it becomes part of the Fortunes recording history. It's one thing to re-record stuff, but it's another to actually create something which is new. And I mean, I've been doing some vinyl singles of my own as well, and there is a bit of a demand for that. It's a bit of an eclectic and a bit of a niche market, but it's still there. CD singles, not so much now, but certainly a little vinyl EP might be nice with a good sleeve, and maybe perhaps some vintage recordings on there as well. I mean, for example, we did some stuff with an orchestra in Belgium a few years ago, which was recorded doing the big hits, and they sound fantastic. So they'd be great for a physical single along with the new song. That's a possible idea. Well,
we shall keep an eye out for the additions to the discography of the Fortunes. Meanwhile, though, availability online for a big chunk of your work and your own personal performances taking place each Friday as part of your sort of lockdown live sessions on your Facebook page. Where do we go to find all of this stuff?
Well, the Facebook thing, it started as a bit of fun. I've actually done 47 of these streets. And it started just as a way of just for a few fans just to cheer them up when it was really bad last when the first lockdown happened. And of course, also it was a way in which I could sort of keep my voice in trim, because obviously, like any sort of muscle, if you don't use it, you lose it. So, and it's grown. I mean, on some occasions we get up to 1,000 people with the views afterwards, and certainly 100 or so at any one time. But the limitation of it is it's on my own Facebook page. There were technical reasons why we couldn't do it on the Fortunes page. We tried it and it did work for a while, but Facebook have got certain limitations for copyright reasons. But if anybody wants to tune in, you're welcome to come to my own Facebook page. And all I would ask anybody to do is, if you message me saying the reason that you want to be a friend, if you like, is because you want to listen in, then of course I'll know why you're being a friend, as opposed to some random thing that you get. I get hundreds of questions I've never heard of.
Yeah,
but
we're all there.
If somebody sends me a message and says, look, I'd like to tune in, then I will always let them join and it become part of it. It's a little family. It's a bit of fun. Do some Fortune stuff and some 60s and 70s and any new stuff that we've done. And it's very, very low key. It's just a speaker and me singing in this very man cave that I'm in now.
Well, it's about having a bit of fun. And the Fortunes, if we search for that in the usual digital outlets and on Spotify, we'll be able to listen to that track as of release day?
Yes, its official release is this coming Wednesday the 10th. The thing about these digital platforms, they don't all come online at once, but it should be up on all of them by the weekend. But certainly it'll start appearing on some of them on Wednesday. I'm going to put some announcements on the Fortunes Facebook page and on my own page, of course. And it's getting quite a bit of airplay already. So, as I say, we're hoping to get into this so-called heritage chart, which is for acts that had hits in the past. And I think Paul McCartney's in there at the moment, and Cliff Richard and people like that. So,
exactly who you should be battling with.
Under.
Yeah, absolutely bubbling under. We like that. Well, as it is, I never ever thought I would find myself saying, here's the brand new single from the Fortunes, particularly as you've already mentioned. The last one, proper, was back in the year I was born. So this is quite an experience for me. Never Too Far, the brand new single from the Fortunes now. Meanwhile, Eddie Mooney, thank you for joining us.
Thanks ever so much, Jason. It's a pleasure talking to you. Take care.
we're so far apart, and it's breaking my heart that you're so far away. I long for your touch, but I know that we can't be together each day. Whenever we're lonely, wherever we are, the distance between us just a moment away. It isn't really that far. We're never too far. Wherever we are, I'll always have a picture in my mind of you. And though we're apart, I know deep in my heart, I know our special love is gonna see me through. So tired of the night and the tunnel's last light, it seems too good to be true. And the journey's so long, I hope that nothing goes wrong until I'm back home with you. Whenever we're lonely, wherever we are, the distance between us just a moment away. It isn't really that far. We're never too far. Wherever we are, I'll always have a picture in my mind of you. And though we're apart, I know deep in my heart, I know our special love is gonna see me through. The time will come when we'll share our lives together. It won't be that long until we live again, love again. Never too far. Wherever we are, I'll always have a picture in my mind of you. And though we're apart, I know deep in my heart, I know our special love is gonna see me through. We're never too far. Wherever we are, I'll always have a picture in my mind of you. And though we're apart, I know deep in my heart, I know our special love is gonna see me through. We're never too far. Wherever we are, I'll always have a picture in my mind of you. And though we're apart, I know deep in my heart.
The Lichfield Garrick have got something amazing for those who are missing, taking part in dramatic groups. To tell us more, I'm joined now by Associate Director Jonny McClean. Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon. How are you, Jason?
I'm very well, and I trust we find you ready for the world.
Yes, yeah, just about as ready as anyone can be at the moment, I think.
Because you are about to embark on not one, but two groups. One for the youngsters and one for those that are more senior in years, to be able to get on and do some dramatics online in this time of lockdown.
Yes, absolutely. So we are launching a theatre club and our youth theatre club. Primarily, I think, because everyone's in need of a break. Everyone's sort of needs the chance to be a bit creative again. And I think, although often at the Garrick we do sort of wonderful shows and that sort of thing, I think at the moment, more than anything, people want to see their friends, socialise with people who've got similar interests and just have some fun.
Mm-hmm. Well, Even a script read through is going to be amazing at this point, let alone doing something which involves real drama online. So it is an opportunity, and one I suppose, I mean, the youngsters have been missing out terribly because they're normally involved in all sorts of things. They have time for that sort of stuff normally, and now all they have is time to sit at home and probably play on computer games. So a chance to interact with their peers.
Yes, yeah, I mean, drama as a whole is so critical for young people, just in sort of developing, learning, and I think, as you said, just gives a chance for something different. We all love Fortnite. We all love whatever game you're playing at the moment. But the chance to just interact with some friends, pretend to be someone else for 2 hours, is just invaluable.
This is what gets you through life normally.
Always.
See, I'm missing seeing you in shows because very often you're involved in all sorts of different things, and whether it's been at the Garrick or I've seen you at the arena in Wolverhampton, all these sort of places, you are an absolute star, and I think it's
Thank you very much.
Having someone like yourself involved in all of this really does make a difference too.
Yeah, I think, I mean, my professional experience has been wonderful, and I think it's informed some of my sort of the ways I run groups, but I think more than anything of what I'm proud about is the culture that I think over the last couple of years we've built at the Garrick. We've kind of had people say how welcoming an environment it is, and sort of how it's a great place for people who are trying things for the first time or that sort of thing, with a really nice social atmosphere as well. So I think it's a really nice marrying together of sort of professional skills and just a really positive, safe space to try things out.
Yeah, and with these two groups, Theatre Club and Junior Theatre Club, you've got an interesting pricing model, haven't you?
Yes, yeah. So we're trying something a little bit different, I think, just to match the times, really. So for Theatre Club, it is all going to be donation based. I think times are hard for people, and certainly I think some of the class divides or things in allowing people to access theatre or opportunities have perhaps been thrown into more stark clarity right now. And so we're very keen that if you're at the end of a session, if you're able to donate, that's great. But if not, please don't let that stop you from having the chance to be creative. You know, we want this to be an opportunity for everybody, as theatre should be. So yeah, essentially there's no booking cost or anything like that. It's at the end of a session, you donate what you feel you're able. And if that's nothing, that's absolutely fine.
The important part is being part of it, having that release, being able to enjoy being part of the world of theatre and take part. Obviously, it'd be great if people can. And how does it work for the kids?
So how it works for the kids is once you've booked on, we will be sending out a Zoom link because you'll be on that mailing list. All you need to do is check your safeguarding paperwork, make sure your background's nice and sensible, and then click on the Zoom link and we'll be running the session. So we're doing some sessions on screen acting, we're doing improvising and devising with characters, doing some script work, both acting and directing, which should be really exciting. And then we're doing one that's a little bit out of left field, which is Foley effects. So all those incredible sound effects in cinema and theatre and all that kind of stuff, we're going over some of the amazing ways that people create those sorts of sounds, because it's never what you expect.
So all that going on, and how you do that in this time, it's great. I mean, the fact you can Zoom this as well, but does it mean you've got a limited number of spaces for each of these groups? So
I think that will entirely depend on demand, really. If demand flies out the window, we might need to extend to sort of 2 groups per age group or that sort of thing. We're going to sort of be experimenting as we go, and to be honest, numbers will probably be similar to what we normally run with a youth theatre session, so about 20 to 30 people. But if that gets too much to handle, we will just sort of expand to match the demand.
And you can sort of split out different bits of groups as well, and there'll be individual rehearsals for different bits. Will there be a final production, do you think, at any point? Is that something that's going to develop
for
in
our
time?
Theatre Club, I don't think there will. So Theatre Club itself is very much sort of focused on the doing, the sort of the taking part.
The technicals.
So more just the enjoying being creative. So we're releasing very excitingly next Wednesday is our first episode being released. Up to Christmas, we ran a group called Young Rep Digital, where we sort of wrote and filmed sort of monologues in home spaces. So that'll be coming out. It's called Monologues of Murder. It will be starting to come out on next Wednesday even. But Theatre Club itself, there's no pressure on it. It means that it frees people up to, I suppose, be able to attend when they can. I think for some people, signing on to a big old 12-week project or something like that can be quite an intimidating thing right now, because we never quite know what's going to happen. So just offering people that chance to, you know, attend one session, and they might miss one, but that doesn't stop them being able to come back and do some more.
Yeah. So a great opportunity, and say they will be there in the right place for the next time an opportunity comes along that might be filmed and shared. So, you know, it's really a chance to get involved and get that spirit running and really feel good about what's going on around them.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, what a chance for myself, discover local talent. What a chance to sort of try out theatre if you haven't done it before. And also, I must admit, I'm looking forward to running the sessions, Jason. I think I've been having withdrawal.
Yeah, you've not seen real people for so long. And I know you've done some great stuff. I mean, throughout each of the lockdowns, I mean, you've been appearing on screen, reading stories and all sorts. And I know that the Garrick's done some fantastic work there too.
Thank you very much. I think people are sick of seeing my face by now, but hopefully they'll come along to Theatre Club anyway.
They love you. Everybody loves you, but there we go. Right, so give us the details on how people sign up for this, and of course can also then find what else is going on with the Garrick.
Absolutely. So all you need to do is head on to the Lichfield Garrick website. So that's www.lichfieldgarrick.com. There on the What's On page will be what you need. Or you can pop onto our Facebook, Instagram or Twitter, and there will be links there to check out the booking page. Once you're booked on, send us your application form and jobs are good. And you'll get your Zoom link. And as long as you're there, either on Mondays at 6:30 for Youth Theatre Club or Wednesdays at 6:30 for Theatre Club for adults, and jobs are good. And it all starts on Monday, the 1st of March, with the adults group on the 3rd of March. That's all there is to it.
Simple as that. And say lichfieldgarrick.com is a great place to go and see what else is happening. And when the shows start to reappear, it's a close call. Nearly had a panto, but unfortunately that didn't quite happen.
We did our best.
We did our best. Well, you amazed people with what you were able to do online. I think that's the good bit. So that was a treat in itself. So, you know, you never once to give up on anything. You will keep going at it, and to say this is another great way of getting people involved in theatre and a chance to get involved and do something. No experience necessary, just a willingness to take part and enjoy.
Yes, absolutely.
Jonny McClean, Associate Director at the Garrick, thank you for joining us.
Thank you very much for having me, Jason.
Let's Fly is the brand new album from Angus Crowne and the Family Jewels. It's released in March. There's a single as well for us to enjoy. And Angus joins us now for a chat. Hello, sir.
Hello, how are you, Jason? Glad to be here.
Good to have you along. Thank you for joining us. And where do you join us from? This is the important bit.
Place far, far away, distant galaxy, Los Angeles.
And where else would you want to be to produce some of the finest music in the world? And this is what you're going for. So tell us a bit about yourself and the Family Jewels.
Yeah. Sure. Well, this is Let's Fly is my fourth full record release in the last 4 years. We did a great tour in the UK last year. Actually, 2019. It's gone by so fast. Where I am right now, I mean, I'm pretty excited about this new record. It's definitely a shift more into the mainstream crossover sounds. I'm known for a genre called ukulele punk rock, which is a mashup of ukulele, rockabilly, and punk. And I mean, my first record was pretty true to those three genres, but this latest one is more, I think, more rockabilly, more mainstream.
I don't think you can go wrong with that selection, though. I mean, there's some brilliant sounds in there. And did it start with the sound and then turn into the music, or did you want to write music to use the sound? I
just kind of start strumming, and I just start to get some really good sounds out of it. And then, you know, my muse is my wife. I've been married for over 20 years, and I'll just start, you know, writing some songs, some good love songs or some harder songs. But really inspiration just comes from the melody. And for songs that don't have a ukulele on it, I'm playing the bass. So those are fun too, because I'll sit there and I'll just start twiddling away, and then something comes up, and I just, if I enjoy it, I just kind of go with it.
So the music's about you enjoying yourself first, which I think is vitally important for any musician, because if you're trying to do it as a job that's just a job, you're not putting your heart and soul into it very often. It doesn't stop some people, but I think when you can bring it to life with your own thoughts and your own energy behind it, that's just so much better, isn't it?
You know, some songs I write and I'm like, why did I do that one? There's a song on this one, A Little Less Real. And it really was a defining song for the way I was feeling. I was just kind of like a little bit too deep into myself and just really didn't want to be around myself for a little while. So I ended up writing something that was very close and personal.
Mm-hmm.
And then other days when I'm feeling pretty keen about myself and I'm pretty happy, I'm like, I don't want to hear that song. That song's going to bring me down. But I think in the big picture, yeah, I'd rather write songs that are coming from my heart and my soul than to write something it's kind of like a jingle just to be cute about it.
And you've actually mentioned your own tour across the UK in 2019, but you've actually brought tours to life for many an artist as well. And how does that crossover work?
Well, that was a lifetime ago, it kind of seems. I was a concert producer, and I worked with some major bands, Queen and Boy George, and a lot of electronica guys, Fatboy Slim and Paul Oakenfold. I think I've always been artistic. I used to own a vaudeville theater. George Fromby comes to mind if you're thinking vaudeville. I don't know if your listeners know vaudeville, but as you get older, most people don't know vaudeville. But that's a shtick. And so I've always been into the shtick and for the fun and the performance. So when I was producing concerts, it was just natural. To me, I may have not been on the stage. I was just on the side of the stage. But the transition happened very naturally. I've always been inclined to play music and I've always been inclined to perform. So when I decided to move away from producing, it was a very natural move. What
are your aims and goals at the moment? You say we're on the 4th album. We got a single as well off this current latest one. And the build-up to the release in March must be a part of the excitement now.
It is, yeah. I mean, a lot of people tend to wonder, like, what are you doing? If you're a musician, and they just kind of like, where are you going with this? And I think I'd like to navigate the path, but I know the path has to be navigated upon itself. I'm not a Buddhist, but there's a saying that what you are seeking is seeking you. So I think that as the more I put the music out and the more I get this genre moving along, that more people hear it and want to do more with it. Obviously, I'd like to be touring full-time around the world. And I hope one day for that to actually happen where I can do it. But I think for this record, what I'm really excited about this record, I have a great team in London working for me on this one. And I like the fact that there are songs on there that I feel blend into that crossover range. And then I also know that I'm very quirky. And so there are songs on there like Rosé Wine, which is a very quirky song. So I don't want to lose that part of me as I try to push out to the mainstream.
And your vocal style is somewhat quirky too.
Yeah. I like when a lot of people, they'll go at Ian Dury a lot. One person wrote a review once and says it's more parlato than singing. And then when I'm singing, I'm like, well, that's singing. Some songs are kind of talking through and. I think that's just the style. I just had a review come through and they said, it's very much like Lou Reed and that's a positive. And for me, I find the range to be comfortable. I want to do something in a comfortable range. I don't want to stress myself and I don't want to, put myself out there and feel like I'm trying to be something that I'm not. I mean, I'm very comfortable with my voice. I'm very comfortable with the style. So if a song kind of pushes me into a range, like I've got an ache on this song. That's definitely a singing loud song. I enjoy it, but I'm very comfortable where I am. And every time somebody compares me to Ian Dury, I just feel it's a beyond a human compliment. I'm very excited when they talk like that.
Well, I mean, the music and the songwriting is yours, but how do the family jewels get involved? And tell us a bit about the rest of the gang.
Yeah, sure. So Rod Kashani is my he's my bassist and my backup. Mixed two words there. He's the backup guitarist. Rod's a well-sought session musician in LA, and we're all within range. He's the youngest of the crew. A lot of my music's about millennials and getting older and trying to figure all that stuff out. But he's the youngest. He's about 30. My drummer is Tino Marufo. Tino's an amazing, amazing drummer. He's also well sought out. These guys are doing a lot of session work. They're also in some really great bands on the side, which is fun. I like to go and watch them when we can go out. Tino was actually brought to me through my guitarist, Gavin Ross. Gavin's incredible. He really brings my sound to the level it is, and I'm very appreciative to have him. Gavin's been, he has a studio in Burbank, California, Steady Studios, and we kind of all jam there, but he is my co-producer, and he really does a lot as far as bringing it to where I'm, where I see it. So it's exciting. There are a bunch of good guys.
Well, and the teamwork there when you're producing the music and recording sort of builds up on your sound. And when whatever instrument you happen to be playing, I take it they're there as backup, but they're really there helping you bring an idea to life, and you get used to working with people, and you must get the best out of them in the same way as you do from your own performance.
Quite honestly, they get the best. They get the best out of me. I think they're all amazing musicians in their own right. And sometimes it's a little frustrating, because they'll take it somewhere, and I'll be like, well, let me catch up with you, But I think at the end of the day, they're complimenting me in a way that makes me perform better and do a better job, I think, as a musician. And I compliment them because I'm so damn good looking.
This is the way it is. Well, if you want to check out what he looks like, and in all the press shots, you can find that anguscrowne.com. The album is Let's Fly. We're going to take a listen to the single Dreaming Is True, and this is an entry point for people into your music, and maybe an easier one than there's been there previously, but certainly once they start on this, the back catalogue is going to beckon, isn't it?
It is. I mean, the first record, there's a couple of songs on there, Kitty and Lullaby Blues. I love singing and performing. They're very dear to me songs, but they're way, way, way over on the punk side. And I absolutely never suggest Lullaby Blues. I love singing. I always finish that song after every show. And it's a hard, fast-paced punk song. But then at the very end, we go into this bluesy little jazzy thing, which is really fun and exciting. But yeah, I think if you listen to Dreaming Is True, I think you should go directly to Unobservant Idiot, which was my last record. And that's the one we toured with. It's a nice blend. And I also think once you go there, you go back to Shag Rug. And then you just working your way back until my self-titled debut. But yeah, I think Dreaming Is True is really the opening sound.
Well, you will be addicted. Angus Crowne is with a .com on the end of what you're looking for. Crowne has an E on the end of it. And this is going to just absolutely blow your mind, I think. We'll take a listen to Dreaming Is True. Let's Fly, the album is out on the 19th of March. Angus Crowne, thank you for joining us from LA.
Thanks, I appreciate it. It was very nice to meet you, Jason.
Robin Shelby is somebody you'd have seen on screen, heard, and been on the receiving end of a production work as well. Randomly, somehow, someone who looks like this can be Slimer. How does that happen? Hello.
How are you? Thank you for having me today.
I'm good. I'm glad you could join us, and thank you for having this conversation, for Science of Cinema, supporting Medicinema in the work that they do. Now, these interviews are a chance to get behind the scenes and understand a bit more about the movie industry. And you're someone who's got an experience in all areas of the world of cinema, not only sitting in a booth making silly noises to being in front of a camera, but also telling people what to do in your world of production as well.
I've been so lucky, in all honesty. It's easy to look at what you don't have, but when I look at what I have had and been offered and the opportunities, I'm really grateful.
Well, how did all this start? Because you've done theatre as well. So was that where it began for you?
Children's theater. Yeah, I was 11, and I got bitten by the acting bug in junior high school, very early.
Mm-hmm.
But I absolutely fell in love with it immediately and just kept going from there.
How does that develop then into becoming Slimer in Ghostbusters 2 in the late 80s, and then being the voice of Lady Slimer later on?
Yeah, actually, for Ghostbusters 2, I was living in Northern California. And the year before that, I was working on a movie called Willow.
And in Willow, you were under quite a lot of fur.
I was. I played a troll that got killed at the top of the bridge and got torn in two by a Hydra monster. So I have a really strange resume, but that's okay. It's all good. It's all good. So that's how I got introduced to Industrial Light and Magic. And about a year later, they needed somebody to come in and audition. I didn't know what it was for when I went in, but they were looking for someone to play Slimer. So I auditioned and got the job right away.
I had already met Slimer in the first episode of Ghostbusters, so you had something to work with there.
Mm-hmm. Actually, I was the actress inside the costume. Mm-hmm. And I think it was Ivan Reitman who provided the voice for Slimer.
Right.
But I was in front of a blue screen for many hours in about a 40-pound costume. I didn't weigh much more than that. And had a great time. It was the hardest work I've ever done, but like the most rewarding, and I would do it 100 times over.
But then that sort of progressed, I suppose, then gave you opportunities, doors to open, and people knew what you could do from this point onwards. And this is where things started to sort of snowball. But you've done TV work as well, and produced, 15 episodes of one show?
A web series. I've produced my husband writing and producing as well. Sometimes when you want to be creative, you have to create your own projects, and that's what we did. We had some ideas and just ran with it. And my husband is a brilliant writer. He's very funny. He's extremely funny, and we just decided to make our own stuff. So we did. We said, okay, here's the idea, and let's shoot an episode, which turned into about 15. We shot a series called Far From the Tree, which that was our first big undertaking. But it's about a daughter amidst this very crazy family. So she's like the calm amidst the storm, and based very loosely on some of my family members, but in a very loving way. But yeah, we had so much fun. I learned a lot because you have to organize and schedule, and there's paperwork to deal with, and it was a lot. And as an actor, you don't normally have to deal with that, but I learned a lot. I'm glad I did. Mm-hmm. I'm glad I did that. But
all of this, I mean, it comes together to be an amazing career and plenty more still to do. But as you say, you started out in theatre, and is that really your first love, or do you enjoy both sides of it too?
It's so different. I enjoy them both, but theatre will always be my very first love. It always will be. That was my first, taste of acting, and there's nothing like being in front of an audience. Nothing. And of course, now with COVID, theaters are not happening. Mm-hmm. And Broadway's been closed and probably will be, through the rest of the year. Maybe, I'm not sure when they're going to reopen. But I miss it so much. I miss seeing theater. I miss doing theater. I would love to. I sing. I do musical theater. That's kind of how I started. It's a big part of me. I miss it. I'm looking forward to when all this is over and it's safe to go back and doing a show or two. Mm-hmm. I really want to.
Have you done much character work in theatre as well? Because obviously that's in films, obviously your appearance as Slimer, and in Willow as a troll, which it must have been an interesting one to do. But how does that sort of compare to the sort of things that you do on stage? Because most of the time, you've done some really big straight acting jobs and some musicals.
Thank you. Thank you. The difference, well, I've never done, I haven't been in a costume in theater. It's so different. Acting for stage outside of a costume is different than acting for camera in a costume. You kind of have to, what we did for Slimer, because I hadn't done a lot of on-camera costume work, we had a few weeks of rehearsal. They would tape it. They'd let me see it to see what was working and what wasn't. And we all worked together because there were puppeteers as well.
Mm-hmm.
There was somebody running the eyes and the lips and the tongue and the nose could sniff. But we all had to work together. So the rehearsals kind of got us all on the same page, and they're so brilliant at ILM. Like, they are the best of the best. And talk about something kind of fresh-faced and new going into working with people like that. It was just like a kid in a candy store. It was crazy. It was wonderful.
But I mean, you look at the technology differences between 1986 was it, that one, and where we are now. I mean, you can make at home something on the same sort of scale as they would have cost millions to produce then.
1989 is when I shot, we shot it really close to when it came out, because Slimer was in the script, then out of the script, then back in the script. And it was kind of, they had to rush to get the special effects done. So we had very limited amount of time to do it. So, but yeah, it was state of the art. That costume that they made for Slimer there's nothing like it at the time. I mean, it was pretty cool. And even today, I still feel like CGI is needed in certain instances, but it just can't match a person live in a costume helping to create a character.
Mm-hmm.
There's just something about it that you just can't replicate, you know?
Yeah, real people, real actors, it is needed. And you are an actor under there. You're not just holding a prop up. You are really bringing this thing to life. And again, with Slimer, that was one of the characters that really people identified with. Had it not been in the second film, I don't think it would have sort of lived on in the same way as it has to today. So you're responsible for that.
Oh, no, not me. I mean, the production was responsible for bringing Slimer back. I can't take credit for that.
Yeah.
But I was lucky enough to be part of it and then help bring Slimer back to life. My earpiece just fell out. There we go. I was part of the team of bringing him back to life when they put him back in the script, and super honored to have done that.
When you are coming to approach a role like that, obviously you've got to have your motivation, and producing slime and eating everything in sight. I mean, that's an interesting motivation.
It is, and it was hard to step into. Like you said, the Ghostbusters Slimer was an iconic character, and stepping into something that people already know, they already love. You don't want to mess it up, right?
Yeah.
And I was just like, I have to step up and do the best work I can do. But what I didn't want to do is put that much pressure on myself, saying, "Oh my God," I didn't want to. I wanted to have fun and listen to what they needed, and not fill myself with how big it was at the time, because that would have freaked me out.
Mm-hmm.
So I just had to go and have fun with the team, and Slimer is a little bit different in Ghostbusters too. So I definitely didn't want to replicate what they did in one, but listen to what they needed for Ghostbusters 2.
He developed as a character, definitely, yeah.
It was a team. I mean, like, it took a village to make that character. It really did.
So from there on to Lady Slimer and getting to do the voice this time, and that you know, just a natural progression within the movies. But I mean, it's nice to have someone who's in canon who's actually doing this as well. So I think that again, it shows the Ghostbusters family.
Paul Feig was the one who reached out to me, and I had never met Paul Feig, who's one of the nicest men on the planet. He's so sweet. I got a tweet from him, a private message saying, you know, if you're interested, I kind of want to talk to you. There might be something that I'd love for you to do in Ghostbusters Answer the Call. And how could I say no to that? Right. But that was Paul. He was reaching out to different people from previous, the previous movies, trying to get the fans excited and happy and incorporate everyone into it. He was incredible for doing that. It was a love letter. In my mind, it was Paul Feig's kind of love letter to the fans. I think he really put a lot of love into that film. I
suppose creating a voice this time.
It was. And I had to go into a sound studio, and they had a rough sketch, not a sketch, but like rough animation. So it wasn't finished. It doesn't didn't look like it does in the final film. And I just kind of had to take direction and add what I could to it and collaborate a little bit. And it was fun. If you would have watched me, I was like a screaming crazy person in the studio.
You play the part, but I mean, having already had the experience of being the physical Slimer, and then when Lady Slimer comes along, as you say, animated, so this was CGI this time round, and once the CGI is sort of mapped, they actually will then use that mapping to follow your voice as well. So it is very realistic, isn't it, by this point?
It is, and I just saw the few moments that I shot at the time. I had no idea what the rest of the film. I was just hoping it was going to be fun. I was hoping that that the fans would love it. And when I finally got to see it all put together, because I knew about that much of the script, I was relieved. I was like, oh, this is good. Personally, I love it. I know there's a lot of weird, there's a lot of controversy, with that film and the women being Ghostbusters, but I really enjoyed it. I thought it was fun to watch it, and so happy when I finally got to see it all put together.
Yeah, and when you're working on a project like this, I mean, again, you've seen this from an acting, from a creature, from a production point of view, and do you get a different feeling when one of these, basically a baby you're creating turns into this fantastic thing that is on screen? I mean, does it feel different though in each of those different cases? And again, also to the theatre work as well, because obviously theatre's got a live initial reaction as you do it, but when you're being a creature, you're probably just stuck with your arms in the air, trying desperately to breathe.
Interesting point. Yeah, I mean, it was, in Ghostbusters 2, being inside the costume, it was the weight was a challenge, and it was hot. I mean, but I did have a lot of people watching out for me on the set the whole time. They were making sure that I was okay, and that I had breaks and that I had water. And I like bringing this up as a fun fact. Like when I was in the costume for Ghostbusters 2, I wasn't allowed to eat because it took so long to get in and out. They just didn't want any like if I started not feeling well or choked, or they wanted me to eat outside of the costume. So I always joke around that Slimer was not allowed to eat.
The irony of all of that, but if it wasn't ectoplasm, it wasn't happening. But there we go. So what is going on at the moment then? What is next? Obviously things are hiatus as far as your theatre work goes, but working on any web and TV projects at the moment?
Yeah, well, we're producing another episode in the next week or two of Two Cops in a Car, which is the other series that we produced. And a lot of production, as you probably know, they shut down for now. It's like there's not a lot going on. So I'm hoping by summer things will pick up, and there'll be more opportunities to go out there and audition and work and be creative. But until then, we're just going to keep creating on our end and put some fun stuff out there for people.
It's getting the writing done and a few things online. That will all help. And as we sit here and chat, we are in front of your DVD collection. And is there something there? We might as well talk about this. There's quite an array of things behind you. I mean, what is there a guilty pleasure bit back there? And what have you got your own stuff on the shelf?
Not really. I mean, I do have Ghostbusters 2, Answer the Call. Yeah, the Ghostbusters films are up there. Willow's there. But my husband and I both are, film buffs, and a lot of these are my husband's too. Okay. But it's very eclectic. It's a very eclectic collection of different films. Yeah.
So what are you embarrassed that is on that shelf?
Ooh, that is a good question. Am I embarrassed by anything? We really just buy things because we like them.
Yeah. Buffy's a classic. I can see Buffy behind you there. I mean, that series is absolutely fantastic.
Yeah. There is one film that somebody that I know worked on. There's a film that we have. It's called Monkey Love. Mm-hmm. It's a comedy, and it's it's I purchased it because my friend was in it, and other than that, it's probably. But everything else up there, we bought it because either I enjoy it, we both enjoy it, or my husband enjoys it. So.
And obviously, when you're friends with things, you have to, and I'll be looking that one up on IMDb later. But with the world of cinema and being part of it, do you think that changes the way you look at a film as well?
You mean being part of the industry?
Yeah.
Or yeah. I mean, I definitely. I just saw a movie last night, actually, A Promising Woman. Mm-hmm. And from an actor standpoint, I'm always looking at films. It's kind of sad, not from a spectator's point of view, just enjoying the film. A lot of times I'm looking at the shots that they chose.
Yeah.
I'm looking at decisions an actor made, good or bad. I tend to be a little more in work mode, watching an actor work instead of just sitting back and enjoying a film. Mm-hmm. Unless it's a film I've seen, like, if I've seen a movie 15 times, of course I can just, like, Back to the Future is one of my favorite films ever. And, I don't evaluate that. I just enjoy it. But most of the time with the new film, I'm like looking at it analytically.
And looking for those little bits. And I suppose sometimes it's a second watch where you see things as well. And you know that from the work that you've done. People will miss things, and then something was in there. Almost an Easter egg sometimes at times. And I'm sure that happens with Willow and some of the things that Slimer got up to in Ghostbusters too. There are things that are there and other people maybe won't catch up on until they've watched it 3 or 4 times. And when you get to be at conventions and things like that, it must be great being able to share a few little stories. So give us a little sneak peek now, but nothing that's going to spoil things when the people come to see you at a convention.
I've told this at conventions, so it's fine, but it's a very fun story. We were shooting, and Bill Murray was going to Skywalker Ranch, which is where they record sound, and they loop things. And looping, if you don't know, is when you have to dub something over because maybe there's something wrong with the sound, and an actor goes in, they watch playback of what they've already shot, and they put their voice over it again. Yeah. Anyway, he was there. He was near ILM, and he came in to watch for the rest of the day. It was on a Friday, and he was just sitting, and I got to meet him, and I was a huge fan. I still am. I'm a big SNL freak. I love SNL, and I had just worshipped him. And when I met him, it was like, again, a kid in a candy store. I couldn't believe it. But that night when we wrapped and we were done, he ended up bringing in music and drinks and turning the whole place in the soundstage into just a little party. And that was fun. He's as random as you would think, just off the cuff. He's great. But that's a fun little story. I never had expected that I'd get to meet him working in front of a blue screen, and then to kind of have a chance to kind of hang out and enjoy a Friday night with the whole crew and him. It was great. It was wonderful.
I bet it's that you can tell sometimes the chemistry with people on screen, and that then goes behind the scenes as well, and that's clearly what you're seeing here.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, he's wonderful.
And so, which is your favourite bit of work then? The creatures, the puppeteering. I mean, we've mentioned theatre being your love when it comes down to it. But which would you prefer to do? Do you think, if you could only do one thing in front of a camera with smiling, or in front of a camera as a creature, which would you go for?
I love it all, but I would have to say creating a project and seeing it come to life and acting in it is my favorite thing. Mm-hmm. So the projects that we've created and I'm part of, because it's part of your heart. You put so much into it, and it's your baby that just kind of became real. That to me is probably my favorite. But theater is a second close, close second for me. Yeah, I miss it so much. So but creature work, it's a different monster altogether. But again, rewarding, fun. I just love being creative. I got to be honest. Like,
so basically, you're not going to choose. You're just going to have it all and do all of it, and we're going to love you for it.
Oh, thank you. I just love being creative. I love working as a collaborator in a team and seeing something work and come to life and have people enjoy it in the end.
So where do we find you on all the socials and your website?
You can find me on Facebook. Just look Robin Shelby. You can find me on Twitter at actress R Shelby, as well as Instagram at actress R Shelby as well.
And explore your IMDb, see all the films that are there, and go along, download them, enjoy them during the current times when you can't go and get something new. There will be things that you won't have seen there that they will absolutely adore, aren't there?
I think so. I think so. And yeah, I heard the new Ghostbusters just got pushed back into November because of everything that's going on. So because you can't see that yet, go ahead and watch Ghostbusters 2 again.
Yep.
Go watch Answer the Call, the original Ghostbusters, Willow, all kinds of stuff. Yeah, definitely enjoy films. We've been doing a lot of streaming, at home, safe, socially distanced streaming.
Yeah.
I enjoy, just download films and have at it. That's what I say.
Have a great time with it. Well, it's been fantastic hearing from you. Thank you for sharing some of those stories.
Thank you.
We look forward to more when we actually go out to conventions and see you in real life again. That'd be brilliant.
I do miss that. And the fans are so, I have to say, the Ghostbusters fans they're hardcore, but they give back to their community. Talk about like meta cinema, right? Which is a very giving, a giving thing to do. And the Ghostbusters give back to their community for, St. Jude's to, you name it, like any cancer charity and breast cancer. And they're so giving, and they hold events, they raise money, and they help people in their own community. So it's taking a fandom and they kind of make it something that is incredibly giving. And I think most of them are just, they come to the conventions and they just want to hear stories. They just want to say hi, and they appreciate what you do. So I miss that. I haven't done a convention in so long. I miss seeing the fans. I do.
Well, we look forward to seeing you hopefully in the UK before too long.
Yes. Oh, I would love that.
It'd be brilliant to have you over here. And we will look forward to seeing you on our screens as well. But for now, Robin Shelby, thank you for joining us for Science of Cinema and supporting Medicinema.
Jason, thank you. Thanks so much.
If you can go along and support the work of Science of Cinema, raising funds for Medicinema, please pop along to their Facebook page and check out what they have going on there and all the other fantastic interviews they've been running too. Steve Heathcock is part of the team behind England Together, a fantastic piece of music released a little later this year. We will be talking more about it as we head towards release date, but he joins me now to update me on how the project started. Hello, sir.
Morning, Jason. How are we?
I'm good, thank you. So tell us a bit about the whole project to begin with.
Well, we're all in lockdown, as you know, so there's no gigs for none of us. We're all, professional musicians, and I've come up with this plan, giving something back to the NHS,
So you're raising funds for NHS charities together, and again, somewhere that funding has made such a massive difference across the communities on sometimes the not necessarily healthcare aspects of people's health, if you see what I mean. It's the things that make a difference in the background and lots more besides. So you have been inspired, and this track is inspiring. It is absolutely fantastic, a brilliant sound. So tell us about some of the musicians and performers you have there.
Well, I've got a list here. Can I go through it?
Run the list, Yeah.
Well, we recorded everything from home as well, Jason, because obviously the COVID, everything was recorded, vocals, music. But I'll give Rob Lloyd, Studio 64 in Kidderminster, was his studio. Stacey Green's on the video, she's a professional share, Annie Lennox tributes. And there's Nick Jarman, who lives in Peterborough. Oliver Jones, who lives in Wednesbury. The Take Two duo in Tamworth. Darren Green, Becky Chadweather, Trish Higgins, Naz Higgins, Kevin Jenkins is actually in Alicante, Spain. Yeah. And myself, Steve Heathcock.
And these are several of those names. I'm not sure of the fellow from Alicante, but I've heard and seen on posters and many of those names back in the day when we used to have gigs to go along to, and performing on the circuit and doing such a great job, putting a smile on people's faces in live venues. Can't do that at the moment, but with this track, that is truly inspired. It just sounded really good. So tell us a bit about the song itself.
Well, I actually re-recorded it in 2010, the original, which got pretty good airplay, like Midlands Today, Central News. Obviously, it's been revamped, and I got a load of singers and musicians, and just revamped it, re-recorded it, put a new twist on it, and I think it's a better version, actually.
Well, it's certainly lively, jolly good fun, and a great song, and say some fantastic voices there. And the fun that you've had doing the video as well, because again, that's all been recorded during lockdown, and it's so fast-paced, you can't keep up hardly. It's really
of course,
good.
Yeah, well, you know.
So,
and being a Wolves man like you as well,
Yeah.
Wolves through as well, well, like,
Absolutely, and it would be great to get that some sort of coverage for this across our region and then see this grow into something huge. So,
there's a Facebook page as well, Jason. England Together, because that's what the group's called, England Together. So when we've got a donation thing on there as well now, and I'm asking people to join that as well now.
So you just look for England Together and you can spot that one. Then that's how you'll be able to share it. When is release looking like at the moment?
I'm looking either the end of April or the beginning of May, because Three Lions, which is the greatest England song, was released about the 20th of May, so we're looking about that time.
Yeah, so it's all in preparation for the Euros, fingers crossed.
For the Euros start in June, don't know, the 6th of June, so don't want to peak too early, but we want to get the airplay and push it out. It's already had 400 views on YouTube, the video.
So that's always a good start. We will take a listen to it in a moment or two's time. But how do people donate? Will it be through the sales or is there a donation page as well?
Well, we're going to do both. I mean, I was talking to Nick Jarman, who's also an admin on the page, last night. They can donate on the page, and if they don't want to buy the song, they can donate straight to the NHS, or when the song comes out, they can buy the song, or do both, whichever they want to do.
Yep, do what you want, as much or as little as you can afford, and you can make a difference. And through England Together, this fantastic bit of work from some brilliant performers. And it's also it's a lovely showcase as well. I know that's not the reason anybody's doing it, but it actually shows you a load of great talent that's out there.
Yeah, it does. I mean, and it's great that everybody... It's lifted the spirits, Jason, because obviously we're all despondent now, bookings, now gigs, so it's really lifted the spirits, you know, it's given us something to focus on, because we don't know when we'll be gigging again. We're talking about May, June, maybe, something like that. Mm-hmm. It's a purpose to, you know, get something going and motivated, so it's good.
Well, I mean, it's fantastic to see and hear, and great that you're doing this. So give us all the details again on where we can find you and how we get in touch and donate.
Okay, so on Facebook, you've got England Together, there's a page, so they can join that. And obviously, they can find me on Facebook as well, Steve Heathcock, and everything will be on that when the release comes out.
So all they need to do, look out, England Together, Steve Heathcock, you'll find it somehow. Meanwhile, we're going to take a little listen to the track now. So keep up the good work, keep the media machine going. We look forward to hopefully some TV coverage as well. And you'll hopefully have an absolutely massive hit on your hands for Euro 2021.
Thank you, Jason. Much appreciated. Thank you for your time.
This week at the LGBT plus Sparkle get-together on Thursday, Katie Neeves is joining them to talk about her journey to womanhood. I'm joined now by both Katie and Paul Ryder from the group. Hello.
Hi, Jason.
Hi, Jason.
So, welcome along. And first of all, Paul, give us a bit of an update on where this talk sits in your current series.
Katie is talking to our group, a part of LGBT History Month. Katie's coming out as trans story to the group. As part of LGBT History Month.
So, Katie, obviously, you've already, before we started talking, described it as a journey. And this is something which has a starting point, a middle, and for yourself, you've reached hopefully the point you want to be in your life.
I'm still in transition. It takes many years to transition, but so I'm still in that process. But basically, I've actually been a professional photographer and filmmaker for 34 years, but so that's my profession. But then 3 years ago, I came out very publicly, and first of all, started by admitting it to myself at the age of 48 that I was transgender, and came out very publicly as being transgender after living for 48 years as a man. Yeah, and so now I've got a new business as a trans ambassador. So it's called Cool to Be Trans. So I do trans awareness training, public speaking, and media appearances about it. Just to do two things really. One is to reach out to other trans people to let them know that it's okay to be trans, because it really is okay to be trans. But so many put so much pressure on themselves, especially at the start of their journey. They think that if they admit it to themselves that they're trans, because let's face it, nobody wants to be trans, nobody chooses to be trans. You either are or you're not. But they think that if they admit it to themselves, then their world is going to end. Well, I'm here to tell them that that's not the case. My world has opened up. so that's one thing. And then the other thing is just to educate the general public about trans issues, and just to show them that trans people are just ordinary people who want to be safe, loved and happy, just like everyone else. And that's it. That is really it.
I mean, it's in many ways what you have a situation here whereby I suppose there's a dawning. There's at some point in your life when you start to realise that you're different. Now, everybody is different in some way, but in your case, you've realised there's a misalignment between how you feel mentally and the physical appearance that you have.
Absolutely, and it's always been there. I mean, ever since the age of about 3 or 4. I mean, one of my obviously, I was assigned male at birth, but that's purely on what the doctors or midwife physically see between my legs.
It's based on the equipment you were given, and not necessarily the instruction manual for using it.
Exactly, and the thing is, it's only sex is assigned purely on that, and it doesn't take into account how you feel in your head and your heart and your brain, because obviously when a baby's born, they can't speak anyway. So there's no way of telling what the baby's gender is. So you're given this crude label, and then that sort of stays with you for life, unless you do something like I'm doing, going through transition. And for the vast majority of people, their gender identity, i.e. what's in their head and their heart, matches their sex characteristics at 99% of the population. For about 1% of the population, me included, there's a mismatch. And that mismatch causes something called gender dysphoria. And it's horrendous. It really is. And I wouldn't wish it on my worst enemy. And it really takes over your life. But gender dysphoria is one of those things that can vary in intensity, and it very often increases over time. And that's what happened with me, and I was completely unprepared for it.
So I suppose it is a different journey for every single person as well, and many will look to these days, hopefully, being able to be free to talk about who they are and to get themselves aligned to where they need to be, live the life that they should be living. But other people, they may not want to transition as well, but there is still a conversation to be had there for anybody who finds himself in this position.
Absolutely, and it's about living your truth. Because when I finally admitted to myself that I was trans, it was it was just like it was like a weight lifting off my shoulders. Well, as well as being scary because of the journey ahead of me, but as soon as I admitted it to myself, it was like a weight lifting off my shoulders. And the research that I did that showed that it's like there's no choice in being trans. You either are or you're not. The only choice you have is whether you decide to transition or not. And many people decide not to transition because of all sorts of different issues, for family issues or whatever. But the research that I did showed that most trans people who decide to transition, usually after the initial loss, pain and heartache and bumpy journey along the way, usually go on to lead happy and contented lives. Whereas many people who decide not to, unfortunately, they're often the ones that end up in a spiral of depression, or often worse. And so that's why, to me, it was just such an overpowering feeling that I just had to do something about it. So for me, I decided to transition, and it's been absolutely the right thing. But I totally respect people who decide not to, for whatever reasons they have. People can only decide for themselves. But I think ultimately it's about living your truth, and that's the path to happiness.
And it's about being able to have the conversation which gets you to the point where you understand who you are. And I think hopefully society's moved on to the point at which that is easier now than it's ever been before. But even then, there's still a lot of work to do. And through the awareness that you're doing, this is going to help people to get an understanding of who they are. It could be they have doubts. It might well be that they have the conversation. They realise what they first thought were trans thoughts aren't, and it's at least not for them. And it is a different thing for everyone.
Oh, totally, absolutely, but I think, as you say, it is easier now. It's still really hard coming out.
I'm not saying it's easy. Don't worry.
It's difficult. I mean, in my situation, I'm say being freelance photographer and filmmaker, and my photography and video business was and still is actually named after my old male name, which is Martin. It's Martin Neeves Photography and Film, and it had been an established brand for 22 years when I came out. And so I decided to, because it was such a strong brand, that I decided to keep the name of the business. But in order to do that, I'd have to come out very publicly. So I made a coming out video, and I put it on all my social media, and I sent it to all my clients. And it was such a risk. I was so frightened of what the reaction would be. So I was worried about losing all my clients. But I think, thankfully, I've had a really good reception. I've been very well it's welcomed and embraced, and it's been phenomenal. But I think that's all down to a lot of the work that other trans ambassadors before me have done, and lots of other people who've, all the media that have been talking about trans issues and everything. It's really, really helped. Okay, there's a lot of negative media at the moment, unfortunately, and the majority of the mainstream media seem to be pretty anti-trans at the moment, which is pretty disheartening. But there are also some supportive ones going on as well. And I'm just pegging away at it.
But being anti anything doesn't make sense. It's often people who are afraid of who they are and insecure in the way in which they think that because somebody else is living the life they should be, that they're going to suddenly have a change which doesn't feel right to them. And it doesn't work like that. As you've already said, this is not something that's easy. It's not something you have chosen. It is something which took you, 48 years to get to the point at which you could admit to yourself and to understand yourself where you are.
I know. And different people, come to that conclusion at different times. I mean, some people, their gender dysphoria is stronger at an earlier age, and so they need to transition at an early age, as a child maybe. But it's quite common for it to increase, particularly in the late 40s, and so I'm quite typical in that sort of sense. But I think the more awareness there is, the easier it will be for other trans people to actually have that conversation with themselves. Because it's just the easy option is just to not have that conversation at all. But then it's not the path to happiness.
Yeah, you've got to be true to yourself, whatever happens. And I mean, hopefully, as we say, we're in a world now where it is more accepting. Yet mainstream media does seem to have issues. But I think there's a lot of work ongoing, and I think it needs more public service broadcasters to make sure they are doing the right thing and spreading the message of love, which is what we should have for everybody.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So your talk takes place this coming Thursday, and obviously you're also going to be in a position to be able to take questions and have a conversation, and it's that talking which makes the difference here.
Absolutely. I like to create a safe space where people can ask me anything No holds barred. They can ask me anything, and even if they ask me a question that I think would be offensive to other trans people, I'll still answer the question. But then I'll just say to them, please don't ask that of another trans person, because it might offend them, and then explain why. But I won't tell them off for asking me, because they're not going to know that, and that's what I do. That's as an educator, that's my job to let them know what's appropriate to ask and what's not. So that's fine.
And it's also about people's reactions to other people as well. I mean, you're presented with someone, you know nothing about them, and we often make assumptions. Particularly on the journey, it is going to be 6 of one, half a dozen of the other when you're going through that, and it's making sure that people understand without having to wear the badge that says, "Hey, look at me, I'm trans," because it's not. It's "Hey, look at you, I'm Katie."
Exactly.
To Katie myself, so I don't see Katie as trans. I see Katie as Katie, like you just said.
Yeah. Thank you.
The nail on the head.
Yeah, and I think that's it. And there are lots of parts to me. It's not just that I'm just trans. And thing is that I'm exactly the same person as I was before I transitioned. I've got the same skills, the same experience, the same sense of integrity, the same sense of humour, however warped. Still exactly the same person, even though I look different. I've got a different name, but I'm just far, far happier. I also have cravings for chocolate now too, but it's a girl thing.
Everything surrounding this subject, this topic, needs to be understood, and it's through understanding that somebody else may not only realise that what's going wrong with their current outlook on life and may be able to put it right, but equally it allows us to work with alongside others and talk to them in the way in which they deserve to be spoken to and understood. So before Paul gives us all the details on the rest of what they have coming up at LGBT plus Sparkle during this month, give us your details, Katie, and where we can find out all about you and your work, and of course the mentoring and the outreach that you do.
So my website is cooltobetrans.co.uk, and that's the number 2 and the letter B in that. So cool and then 2betrans.co.uk. That's probably the easiest way to find me. And you can look me up on all the different social media. As I either put in Cool to Be Trans or put in Katie Neeves, and you'll find me. I'm all over social media like a rash, I tell you.
Can be found everywhere. And of course, I say, Paul, this is the latest in a long series of discussions and guests that you've had at LGBT plus Sparkle in your now bi-weekly meetings. Mondays and Thursdays is where you get together, all at the moment on Zoom. So give us all the details and tell us about what else is happening.
Basically, you can find us on Facebook. It's LGBT Sparkle Wolverhampton. If you type that in, you can find us on Facebook. If anyone wants to connect with our group that don't use Facebook, our email address is lgbtqsparkle@gmail.com. Also, Stephen Chad is an LGBTQ community development worker, Black Country Healthcare NHS Foundation Trust, wanted to connect with Katie, and they wanted someone to speak about trans awareness as part of LGBT History Month. So I'll put them in touch with the lovely Katie Neeves.
Yeah, brilliant. Thanks, Paul. I really appreciate that.
It's good to know this is all happening, and it's this Thursday is when the conversation we had on the 11th. What time?
At 2 p.m.
So make sure you sign up to the group, join in, have that conversation, and LGBT. I nearly missed your Q then, Paul. LGBTQ plus Sparkle is where you're at. So it covers everyone. So whether you are somebody who is within that community, believes that community is where your life needs to be, or you are somebody who just wants to understand and appreciate the whole wonderful world of people we have out there, all of whom deserve our love, then that is the place to go to. And thank you both for joining us, and I'm sure there'll be many people who will be not only inspired but also have a greater understanding following the Talk in the Week, Katie.
Oh, thanks ever so much, Jason. Lovely to speak to you.
Thanks ever so much, Jason.
That's all for this week. Thank you so much for joining me. Back with episode 608 next week. I'll see you then. Ta-ra for now.
Goodbye from the milk bar. 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 Yeah. Goodbye from the milk bar. Yeah.